You might say to yourself, I'm horrible at sales, but the sales funnel is where you really need to focus. Are you bad at bringing people into the sales funnel, or are you bad at getting them all the way to the bottom? We're going to talk about that today and leave you with some tips to bring them from the top to the bottom to closing the deal. Hi, welcome back to Blunt Force Business. I'm Brian LaFauci.
And I'm Patrick Marino.
And we are talking about the sales funnel today, which a lot of people, I think when you brought this up, it was great because people are always like, I'm not good at sales, especially when we do business planning. I'm not good at sales. We're going to dive into that a little bit today. What does that really mean? Sales funnel.
And I think that the sales funnel is one of those things that trips a lot of people up because it's a topic that people see online, especially if you're like a small business owner and you're trying to improve and you're looking for advice and people are talking about the sales funnel or this funnel or that funnel. I think it's good to just define these things for people too and be able to teach them, because I think that the best thing, I actually avoided talking about funnels for a long time.
Okay.
Because I felt like it interfered with people from just understanding the basics of business. Mm-hmm. But I think that the best part about any funnel, the sales funnel being the first one, is just this visualization of what it looks like. And I think it's something everybody can understand. This idea that at the top, you got a bunch of people who are interested in buying, but it's never going to be all the interested people don't buy, right? So it's a good visual to kind of get to that. And then we can talk about kind of the ways that people trickle down to that process as well.
Perfect. Let's get into our blunt force fact for today. And our blunt force fact when looking at the sales funnel is there are plenty of fish in the sea.
Just remember, at the funnel, top of the funnel, you got to get a lot of people into the top to have people convert. Right?
Yeah, every business has a multiplier. So let's, as we start talking through this with our listeners, let's do this. Let's kind of take it from the top and identify maybe some problems that can occur there, and then kind of walk it down and get to the bottom. And I think we'll give them some tips and tricks on each one along the way.
And I think it's important because this is conversations I've had. You probably have conversations too. And again, it's like the person is, maybe they think they suck at sales, but just in general, why don't we have sales? Mm-hmm. And it could be any. Being able to diagnose that is important.
Right.
Is it not enough leads? Is it because we're not closing? Or is it because the leads and there's something that's happening in the middle where we're losing them?
We're losing people. Perfect. So it starts off with the big part of the funnel where we're trying to get as many interested. I think that's the key word, because when a lot of times when we say, all right, you want to get a bunch of people in the top of the funnel, then what I feel people do incorrectly sometimes, and where you might be failing, is you're just dumping anyone in the top of the funnel.
Right.
That is not potentially even a chance of being your audience. I just did this. I'm going to throw myself right on the sword, right?
Okay.
We switched email servers for our marketing campaigns.
Okay.
And when I did that,
You switched from Wix to something else? You're using Wix, right?
Yes, and now I'm using what we use at Blunt Force Business. I'm using MailChimp, yeah.
Right.
So when I did that, I had these import sources, right? So I have my CRM over here, which is a good import source because I know those people care about us, right? I had all the clients that have ever requested anything from us, so like my Calendly, so I imported that. Mm-hmm. And then I had an old email list. Yeah. And I dumped it in.
Okay.
Epic
Did MailChimp
fail.
get mad at you?
Oh, MailChimp kicked me right in the dick.
Yeah.
Dick kick.
Yeah.
First email that got sent out because...
You'd think you might know somebody who might be able to help you out with that process.
No, and you know what? I thought, and here's where I went wrong. I knew about this, right? So I knew about this, but top of the funnel mistake, I thought that list had already been scrubbed out.
Yeah.
And it hadn't. So I knew the right thing, but I thought it had already happened, and clearly it hadn't. And I went through it real quick, and I was like, okay, yeah, like that's a good one. That's a good one. So these are good. And I dumped it. And then it got like, you get like the 5%, 5% of people who are like, what is this? And they just delete it. And MailChimp's like, hey, you got a good percentage of people, right? So that was a top of the funnel problem, right? That I created right out the gate, where now I need to fix that system, spend some time fixing that system. So I think you do a lot of work with clients on this. How do you ensure that, I think the two most important things, that our listeners are filling the bucket at the top but filling it with the right people.
Yeah.
Because that's where the sales process starts.
Yeah, I think the idea is, I think it's a lot to do with cost, right? Because if you get a bunch of free leads that are just tire kickers, it's not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you get a bunch of people who just kind of express it, because what will happen, because I think that what happens to a lot of business owners is we get so engrossed in our business, we forget that we are a small to zero part of their lives, right? And even if our service or product is important,
Right.
we forget how little importance we are to people in the world.
Yes.
Right. So you're going to have people who approach your sales process as completely just barely interested. Maybe they see something they like and they fill out a form online. Right. And now they while they're in the middle of filling out the form, their kid calls from school. They're sick. They got to go get picked up. Right. Or any number of things happens, right? An important thing at work for you happens, right?
Yeah.
Now you completely forgot that you even filled out the form.
Yeah.
So now when you get the email from the person, you're like, who the fuck is this? Like, or you get a call.
Yeah.
Who the hell is this person?
Right.
Right. So, but as business owners, we kind of forget that we're not that important in their lives, right? So you're not that important, but for back from the old school days. So we forget that. So, but you have to get a good sense of kind of like understanding what are all the buckets of lead sources that you have. You know, are you paying for the leads? And obviously it's more important.
Well, I was going to ask
qualified.
that.
Or are they kind of earned leads where it's like because you have brand awareness or because your business is good so that you come up high in a Google search. We might call those earned. Where you're not paying for those. You've kind of already paid for them with your reputation and the awareness that you've already done.
Yeah.
So those leads might be okay to bring at the top because you're not paying for them, right?
Yeah.
But they might throw off, if you're doing calculations, you're trying to figure out a KPI, like who am I converting from this? The less involved they are in kind of understanding what you do, the more kind of tire kicker-ish, just high level awareness, and that's it. Leads that you bring in, it might throw off your conversion stats. But I think that the most important thing is understanding where these people are coming from and what your cost was, because that way now you can figure out, okay, how do I get them down?
Yeah.
The whole way, and also understanding, like, if we get a bunch of leads that don't convert, is that a bad thing? Because I had this conversation one time with a client I was working for, and they actually screwed everything up because they were like, "Oh, we have all these leads coming in, but none of them are converting to sales." But I was just like, "Yeah, but these are free leads. These are SEO leads that we earned." So it's like, they might be not be converting, but like they're freaking free. We're just getting them.
Right.
We just happen to have done a good job. It's like, why you would want to turn off that process doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But from their aspect, they felt like they were wasting some time and money on trying to nurture them and become a sale.
So if it's, I think there's two ways to look at this. And then I have a question for you. If it's a process where the time and effort does not increase, whether there's 2 people in the cycle or 10 or 100 or 1,000, like an email list, right? So sales, one of the ways we do things is through email.
Right, but if you have an email list, then you probably did some work to get that.
Right.
So they might already know about you.
Yes.
Or you bought the list, or you paid for some sort of lead generation campaign that has identified some sort of level of person that might be potential customers. Right.
And I think there's not a lot of bad there is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's not horrible if you have someone in there who's like, yeah, all right, that person's not really that into it. It's not horrible. But where it is horrible for people, and now let's take it out of the digital realm. So now let's go to, you're going to do lead generation through networking groups. Yep. Maybe you're going to set up a table somewhere.
I was going to say you go to like a fair,
or an industry
seminar or something like that. Yep.
Now it really is, for every minute you're there, it's $1 of your time. Yep. And are those people now getting like a garbage lead from there into your cycle? Now that's a problem.
Yep.
Right now. So I think the two ways I would like our listeners to look at this is, we can be a little more flexible with how we get leads in there from a standpoint of if we're not taking a lot of time and money to get them in there, and we throw ones in there that are okay. But when we are spending time and money, we need to be very targeted and purposeful that we're putting ourselves in places where these are definitely going to at least be someone interested.
Yeah.
And like the seminars and the fairs. And so step one is that top of the bucket needs to have a lot of people in there, and we need to be conscious of that being relevant people as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And understanding that you're never going to get to the point where you have zero tire kickers.
Of course.
Right? You're always going to have tire kickers, but kind of understanding and appreciating that. And then your job with the rest of your funnel, we would say would be to qualify those people.
Yes.
Or what someone might come to me and say, and maybe they come to you and say the same thing, is like, we need more MQLs.
What's
You know
that?
what that stands for?
No.
Jargon.
Yeah, thanks for...
Jargon alert. We need to have like a jargon alert.
Do you have a button? You'll make that happen.
MQLs, marketing qualified leads.
Okay.
So that means that we've done the work to figure out that these people would actually be really good customers.
Yep.
These are really good prospects. These prospects can afford what we want. They need what we want.
Yep.
And they want what we have.
Yep.
Right. So it's like so a company might be like, we're getting good at leads, but we need more MQLs.
Okay. That makes sense.
So part of the process is getting them into the top. If we can get more qualified people, as you said, more targeted people into the process, then we're more likely to get them down to the bottom. And then the rest of the way, we could then qualify them.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll give you an example. Right. So one of my companies, as you know, we've talked about.
Are we going to the middle of the funnel now?
We're kind of going to move. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's where I feel like most people lose people.
Yep.
They'll get a bunch of people in.
People in the top. Yep.
And then
so part of it is getting the right people at the top.
Yep.
Right. And then part of it is, okay, what do you do while they're there? Okay.
Right.
So one of them would be, say, the qualification process. Right. And so an example I'm thinking of right now is, let's just say, how about a car dealership? Mm-hmm. Right. And I was going to use a different example, but I'll use this one. A car dealership. So what's one way that you need to qualify somebody to get to the bottom of the funnel with a car dealership?
You get them pre-approved.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they have to actually be able to afford the car.
Right.
Right. So that's that's the easiest way to think of it. Like, are they qualified to buy? Mm-hmm. Right. Same thing like for a big home purchase. Right. So it's like, oh, I need this person. Person's looking for a new roof. Or new roof is not as good because people who are looking for a new roof often need one. So they're going to do what they have to do to get it. But it might be somebody like, think about something like a standby generator, which we've talked about in the past, where it's like, it's a want more than a need. It's like, because it's like, it's great for peace of mind. You get to, it turns on when your home loses power. So it's an expensive thing. So again, it's like, can you figure out, can they afford it? Right. So what do we do to qualify? We might, run them through an income check. We might run them through a credit check, and then give them options in terms of what the financing options are. Right. So qualify them to see, and in a different sense, it might be, okay, well, I'm trying to think of some other products. You can probably think of some, but like, how else what might they be qualified to buy? Can they afford it is probably number one. Mm-hmm. Do they need it? Are they in the market for that? Is it a product for women? Are they women? Like, are they mothers?
Talk about the free piece. That's a great way to do that. For companies that maybe don't credit verify which is most companies. Mm-hmm. They'll have.
I thought that was a good example.
It's a great example. So another way to do it where, if you have stuff that, you're not qualifying people like that, then what about, hey, here's a free gift. So the people that take advantage of the free gift have interest in what you do, right? So we do that in the consulting world. How do we do that? Initial consult is free. So not costing you anything to come, but I know if you book that.
So the qualification process is the interview.
Right.
To see if you're a good fit altogether.
Yes. Yep. And I know you're interested in consulting because you reached out, right? Yep. Because I gave you something free.
Yeah.
So,
or it could just be as simple as like, do you actually need what we have? Mm-hmm. Right? Like what does your business do?
Yeah.
And like, or if you're like walking into a pet store, someone walks into a pet store, what type of pet do you have? Mm-hmm. What are you looking for? Oh, we don't have it. You know what I mean? Like that, even like just a basic level there. So it's like, you got to get people who are at the top, maybe qualified in the first process, but then during the process, you're trying to figure out, are we a fit? Mm-hmm. And that's the qualification process, right? Yeah.
I think most people lose people in this middle stage, and it's for a couple key factors that I would like to point out. And one is appropriate levels of communication.
Yep.
That's a challenging one. staying on their radar enough so that when they're ready, you're there, but they don't get to the point where like, all right, I'm done. Like I'm deleting your email.
Yeah, or how about segmenting the communication?
And
is that jargon
piece.
or no?
Segment isn't jargon.
Okay, good. So we're segmenting your list of leads based on their qualification level, right? So it's like, are they just becoming new leads? We don't really know much about them. They don't know about us, much about us. So the messaging is going to be a certain type of message for those people, right? Or are they coming in because we hung out at Lowe's, we know they're a homeowner, we talked to them, now they're in our funnel.
Yep.
So their communication is going to be different, right? We know that they want what we have, right? So that's a whole different type of communication strategy.
The key in the middle part of the funnel is consistent touch points that are not overwhelming, but keep you front of mind.
Yeah.
And that is really the key.
And are targeted at where they are in the process, right? Where are you at in the process?
And you can do that through...
And you don't want to bang people over the head if you know they're not ready to buy. If they're just tire kickers, you're not just going to be like, buy. If they don't even know if they really even want what you sell.
Yep. But some companies do take that approach in the middle of the funnel. But they do it in like a passive way. Like you see this, you'll relate to this. Instagram is now like just flooded with advertisements.
Yeah.
It's more advertisements than actual people anymore.
Yeah.
And those people are taking their middle of the funnel approach and making it just sales.
Yeah.
Like buy this. And because they know that it's not really inconveniencing you to just get out of it.
You might think that way. But maybe they've already qualified you somehow. How might they have already qualified you?
Because I went to their website.
You went to their website, or you engaged with something that was topical.
Yes. You know what
I mean? So like they put out a topic ad that's like, here's something you didn't think about. You engaged with that, and now they target you with the ad. So that's one way they qualified you. Right. Yep. So they're doing through their advertising process, they're qualifying you with their messaging.
Right.
And they're saying, okay, you were interested in this. Now we're going to give you this. Hey, you were interested in that health topic. Oh, here's a supplement that you can buy.
Right.
And we'll address that need. Or you were interested you saw those pictures of clean rooms and clean houses. And you're like, oh, those are nice. You're like, oh, here's a cleaning service.
Yeah.
Or here's an interior design service or whatever it is. So they might have qualified you. Mm-hmm. So even though you're getting the sales, they've kind of moved you down in their funnel.
Right. Key takeaway for me.
Or they know who you are.
They're
selling you a supplement.
Yes.
They're like, oh, they know you're going to buy that.
They know who I am.
So that's qualifying as well.
Yep. Good point. But their communication is consistent in their form that they use it. Right. So every time I go on to my social media, I'm going to see them.
Yep.
And they're paying for that. And that's the middle of the funnel for them. For us, we might pay for it. We might do something more organic with it. But at the end of the day, those people that get in the top of our bucket, we have to have a way of keeping them in the middle and engaged.
Yeah.
And then we get to the last part, which is where everyone thinks they suck.
Right.
But they could have been screwing up in here, and that's why they're not getting to here, which is the actual closing of the deal.
Yeah. So as I said, I had a client who was getting a ton of free leads through SEO, and they weren't getting a lot of conversion on the other side.
Yep.
And so we were trying to figure out what's the issue. My diagnosis was it was the bottom. Salespeople sucked, right? So at the end of the day, someone needs to close that sale. Whether it's whether it's an automated process on the website, through where the buttons are located and through the sales process. Like one of the things I think we talked about before, it was like if you give people too many choices, sometimes they get overwhelmed. So like if you make the sales process on a website too difficult, they'll exit. Or it just takes too long, they exit, right? It's like, how can you get them to click buy now, Amazon, buy now button, right? It's already got your credit card information in there. Doesn't need anything, boom, you've bought, right? So that's about removing the friction at the end. But part of it just might be just a bad salesperson, right? And it's like, okay, well, this person spoke to me the wrong way. And now, so maybe we are getting that person all the right leads. Mm-hmm. We're getting enough leads. They're qualified. We're getting to the end and people don't like that person.
What's a way our listeners could I don't like talking too much jargon, but there's definitely metrics that and I know there's like industry standard they could use maybe. So what's like a way they could do a little digging to see to give them a target? Like I should be turning this many prospects into like a sales call and this many sales calls into a sale. Like,
you need to do research, but I think that what you're going to find out is I think the conversion rate across everything, like average, is like 2 to 5%.
2 to 5.
I think that's kind of like if you're at like 5% or higher, then that probably means that most of your leads are qualified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It probably means you really hit the target.
Yeah,
most of the people coming in, you are where they are and you're getting the right leads. And so they're ready to buy instantly.
Makes
Usually
sense.
if you get a high conversion rate, it's not because of anything else you did besides the fact that you hit the right people.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Usually it's not just a good salesperson.
Right.
Right? Because if you get the wrong people with the good salespeople, they're not qualified, they don't want what you.
Yeah, the best sales in the world can't sell me something I can't afford or don't want.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep. So you're probably getting the right people. But for the most part, you're talking about this funnel.
Yes.
Right. You're talking about lots to a little.
Yes.
And you have to remember that. But I think that you should talk to people in your industry. You should network.
Yep.
You should know people in your industry. And there's all sorts of ways to do that. It could be networking events. It could be just being a part of a Facebook group. There's tons of, I know a bunch of the people, especially in home services, like roofers, plumbers, some people do the soft washing of homes. I know this guys, they're part of groups, whether they're networking groups or whether they're Facebook groups or whatever they are, where they can pick each other's brains and say, this is what I'm, so that once you're a part of those groups, now you can figure out, well, generally
like
speaking,
industry mastermind groups
kind of
can
like
be great.
how do you, how many people are you getting and what's your conversion rate? Like how many people are you converting?
And
then you kind of know, like if we're way down there, then there's something wrong with the funnel, or if we're doing really well, it's good to know what's right with the funnel too. Like again, maybe we're just bringing in the right people, or maybe we do have a kick-ass salesperson. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of figure out kind of where we're at,
For those of you that were exploring the potential of a franchise opportunity, franchises help do this pretty well. Like this would be a thing that you would get for going into a franchise because they'll tell you, hey, here's our average across all our franchises for like leads, say, so we're, we have one of the guys that's on our weekly call talking about that. Like he had a metric based off of what
or sometimes we had to bring it up. Well, what do the other people do? Well, I don't know. Well,
Right.
there you go.
Right.
So there you go. Ask, figure it out.
Right. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I think that when you are analyzing your sales, you have to look at the entire funnel and figure out, okay, if there's a problem, if you've diagnosed we are not getting enough sales.
Yep.
Because we aren't being able to pay our bills, right?
Yep.
So we have to get more sales and figure out what the issue is. Is it because we don't have enough leads? Is it because our salesperson sucks? Or is it because in the middle we're losing them? Right? We're not qualifying them well enough. We're not staying in touch with them well enough. We're not we would say nurture, right? We're not nurturing them into the sale. But look at it holistically and really break it down and diagnose. And then you can figure out better, are we getting the right messaging to these right people? Are we segmenting our leads and not just blasting them with sales or blasting them with our weekly newsletter that half of them don't care about? You know, it's like, how can we get each individual as close as possible down to the bottom? So diagnose and then work on each thing separately versus just, we need more leads. A lot of people are just, we need more leads. We need more leads. We need more leads. We need more leads.
Blunt force fact, there are plenty of fish in the sea.
It's easy to get leads. There are plenty of people out there. Sometimes it's about finding them.
It's what you do with them once they get into your funnel.
Yep, exactly.
Good stuff. I'm Brian Fauci.
Patrick Marino.
Till next time.
Thank you.